Admiral Kava stared at the blue planet through the massive window of his command ship. The planet looked peaceful from space, with white clouds swirling over green and brown land masses. His officers had told him the beings living there were called humans. They had just learned to travel between planets, which made them very weak compared to the Empire. "Commander Terex," Kava called to his second-in-command. "Send word to the Emperor. We have found another world to add to our empire." Terex nodded and walked over to the communication panel. The Empire had conquered over 300 worlds in the past 50 years. Each time was the same. They would arrive with their powerful ships, destroy a few cities to show their strength, and the aliens would surrender quickly. Then the Empire would take their resources and make them work as slaves. "Sir," Terex said after finishing his message, "should we begin the usual attack pattern?" Kava smiled. "Of course. Target their outer settlements first. Once they see what our weapons can do, they will beg for mercy like all the others." The Imperial fleet moved toward a small human colony on the edge of their solar system. The colony was called New Sol and had about 50,000 people living there. Kava watched through his viewing screen as his ships surrounded the settlement. On the surface of New Sol, Fleet Captain Minho received an urgent message on his communication device. The message was short but clear. Unknown alien ships were approaching and would attack in 10 minutes. Minho did not panic. He had been trained for this exact situation. He pressed a red button on his desk and spoke into his microphone. "All citizens of New Sol, this is Fleet Captain Minho. We are under attack by unknown forces. All civilians must go to evacuation pods immediately. I repeat, all civilians to evacuation pods now." People throughout the colony heard the announcement and began moving quickly but calmly to their assigned evacuation areas. They had practiced this many times. Within 5 minutes, every civilian was safely away from the main settlement. "Sir," said Lieutenant Park, Minho's assistant, "all civilians are clear. Should we prepare to fight?" Minho looked at his orders one more time. The instructions were very clear. "No, Lieutenant. Execute Scorched Earth Protocol now." "Lieutenant." Park pressed several buttons on his control panel. Throughout New Sol, small explosions began going off. Every building, every machine, every piece of technology began to destroy itself. The humans had built their colony with hidden explosives in every important structure. Admiral Kava watched in confusion as the human settlement began to explode. "What are they doing?" he asked Terex. "Are we firing on them?" "No, sir," Terex replied, checking his weapons panel. "We have not fired a single shot. They are destroying everything themselves." The explosions continued for several minutes. When they finally stopped, nothing remained of New Sol except burning ruins and melted metal. Admiral Kava ordered his Marines to land and search for survivors or resources. Engineer Yunji had stayed behind to make sure all the explosions worked properly. She hid in an underground bunker and waited for the alien soldiers to find her. When they finally broke down her door, she was ready. "You want our technology?" she asked the confused alien soldiers. "Here it is." Yunji pressed a button on a small device she held in her hand. The bunker and 3 city blocks around it disappeared in a massive explosion. 20 Imperial Marines died instantly. Admiral Kava received the report from his surviving Marines with shock. "Commander, tell me exactly what happened down there." "Sir, the humans destroyed everything before we could take it. When we found one survivor, she killed herself and our entire landing team with some kind of bomb. We found no resources, no technology, no prisoners, nothing." Kava had conquered many worlds, but he had never seen anything like this. Every other species would try to fight first, then surrender when they realized they could not win. These humans had not even tried to fight. They had simply destroyed everything and everyone rather than let the Empire take it. "Sir," Terex said quietly, "what should we do now?" "There is nothing left to conquer." Admiral Kava stared at the burning remains of New Sol. In all his years of conquest, no species had ever chosen complete destruction over surrender. The humans had not begged for mercy. They had not tried to negotiate. They had simply chosen to die rather than be conquered. "Signal the fleet," Kava ordered. We are returning to base immediately. Sir, should we not attack their other colonies? Kava shook his head. No. We need to report this to the Emperor. These humans are different from anything we have encountered before. As the Imperial fleet moved away from human space, Admiral Kava could not stop thinking about what he had witnessed. Every other species had wanted to live, even as slaves, but these humans had chosen death over defeat without any hesitation. He wondered what kind of species would make such a choice, and he wondered what else they might be willing to do to avoid conquest. The Empire had just encountered something they had never faced before, a species that would rather cease to exist than submit to foreign rule. Imperial Intelligence Officer Zinka sat in his dark office staring at hundreds of intercepted human messages on his computer screens. For 3 weeks, he had been trying to understand what had happened at New Sol. The Emperor wanted answers about why the humans had destroyed themselves instead of surrendering. Zinka rubbed his tired eyes and picked up another translated message. This one was from a human military academy on Earth. It was a training manual for new soldiers. As he read it, his blood grew cold. The manual was very clear. Human soldiers were taught 3 responses to enemy attack. First, they could defend their position and try to win. Second, they could retreat to a better position and fight again later. Third, if they could not win and could not retreat, they must exterminate both themselves and their enemies. This cannot be correct, Zinka whispered to himself. He had studied the military doctrines of over 200 alien species. Every single one included instructions for surrender when defeat was certain, but not humans. The word surrender did not appear anywhere in their military training. Zinka opened another file. This one contained personal messages between human families. He found a letter from Captain Do-hyun to his wife back on Earth. My dear Soo-jin, the letter said, if you are reading this, it means our colony has been attacked and I have activated final protocol. I want you to know that I died protecting what we built together. Remember, if we cannot win, no one wins. Take care of our daughter. Tell her Daddy chose honor over slavery. The intelligence officer felt sick reading these words. Do-hyun had written this letter before any attack happened. He had already accepted that he might need to kill himself and everyone around him rather than surrender. Zinka searched through more files and found something even more disturbing. It was a research paper written by Dr. Soo-jin, a human historian. The paper studied human wars throughout their history. According to Dr. Soo-jin's research, humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. In every major conflict, there were examples of humans choosing death over defeat. Ancient human warriors would kill themselves rather than be captured. Entire cities would burn themselves down rather than surrender to enemies. The paper described something called scorched earth tactics. When human armies could not defend their territory, they would destroy everything useful before retreating. They would burn their crops, poison their water, and demolish their buildings. The idea was simple. If they could not keep it, their enemies could not have it either. Zinka found dozens of examples from human history. During something called World War II, human soldiers in a place called Stalingrad fought until almost everyone was dead rather than surrender their city. In another conflict, human pilots would crash their planes into enemy ships, killing themselves to cause maximum damage. Director Kell, Zinka called his superior. You need to see this immediately. Director Kell arrived within minutes. He was a tall, thin alien with gray skin and large black eyes. He had been studying alien behavior for over 30 years. What have you found, Zinka? Sir, humans do not fight wars the way other species do. Every other species we have conquered fights to control territory or resources. They surrender when the cost becomes too high, but humans fight to completely eliminate their enemies. Zinka showed Director Kell the intercepted messages and historical research. Look at this communication from Captain Jin Wook to his fleet commanders. He says, if Imperial forces take our colonies, we do not try to retake them. We destroy Imperial worlds instead. Make them pay 10 times the cost for every world they touch. Director Kell read the message carefully. Are you saying they do not try to win back their territory? Exactly, sir. They let us keep what we take, but they destroy our worlds in return. They are not trying to win territory. They are trying to make conquest so expensive that we stop attacking them. Zinka opened another file. This is the most frightening part, Director. I found planning documents for something they call the Final Dawn Protocol. If humans ever face complete defeat, they have prepared to activate weapons that will destroy both their species and ours. Director Kell's face turned pale. You mean they would kill everyone, their own people and ours? Yes, sir. According to these documents, human leadership believes that extinction is preferable to slavery. They have built weapons designed not to win wars, but to ensure that if they die, their enemies die with them. Zinka showed Director Kell more intercepted messages. Human engineers were discussing how to build bigger bombs. Human scientists were creating diseases that could kill different alien species. Human military commanders were planning attacks that would destroy entire star systems. Director, Zinka said quietly, every message I have read suggests the same thing. Humans are not preparing to fight a war against us. They are preparing to commit species-wide murder-suicide if we continue to threaten them. Director Kell sat in silence for several minutes, processing this information. Finally, he spoke. Zinka, send this report directly to the Emperor immediately. Mark it as highest priority. The Emperor needs to understand what kind of species we are dealing with. As Zinka prepared his report, he realized that the Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had assumed humans were like every other species they had conquered. But humans were something completely different. They were willing to die and kill everyone else rather than submit to foreign rule. Supreme Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his massive warship, looking at the largest invasion fleet in Imperial history. 5,000 ships filled the space around him, carrying over 2 million soldiers. He had never seen such power assembled in one place. Admiral, his assistant commander Yoke said, the Emperor has approved your plan. You have permission to use any force necessary to break human resistance. Vextar smiled confidently. These humans think they are clever with their suicide tactics. But no species can resist when we bring our full strength. We will capture their colonies, take prisoners, and use them to force surrender. The massive fleet moved toward human space like a dark cloud. Their first target was Busan Colony, a human settlement with 300,000 people. Vextar had chosen it carefully because intelligence reports showed it was a research center where humans developed new technology. We will take this colony intact, Vextar told his commanders. I want prisoners alive. Once we have human scientists, we can force their government to negotiate. The Imperial fleet surrounded Busan Colony and began landing troops. For the first time in the war, humans did not immediately activate their destruction protocols. Instead, they retreated to underground bunkers and waited. Dr. Yanwu was the head scientist at Busan Colony. When she received orders to evacuate, she made a different choice. Instead of running away, she and her research team went to their laboratory. Doctor, her assistant Min Seo said, we should leave now. The evacuation ships are waiting. Dr. Yanwu shook her head. No, we have work to finish first. She opened a secure cabinet and removed several small vials filled with green liquid. Help me prepare the final experiment. Dr. Yanwu and her team injected themselves with the green liquid. It was a biological weapon they had created specifically for this moment. The liquid contained engineered viruses designed to kill Imperial aliens but leave humans unharmed. When Imperial soldiers finally broke into the laboratory, they found Dr. Yanwu and her team waiting calmly. We surrender, Dr. Yanwu said, raising her hands. Please do not hurt us. Admiral Vextar was pleased when he received the report. Excellent. Finally, humans are acting reasonably. Take the prisoners to our medical bay. I want our doctors to examine them and make sure they are healthy. The Imperial soldiers brought Dr. Yanwu and her team aboard the command ship. They were placed in a holding area with other captured humans. Imperial doctors came to check on them, touching them and taking samples of their blood. Within 6 hours, the first Imperial soldier became sick. Within 12 hours, dozens more showed symptoms. Within 24 hours, Imperial soldiers throughout the fleet were dying from a disease their doctors could not understand or cure. Admiral, The chief medical officer reported. We have lost over 3,000 soldiers to this unknown illness. It spreads through touch and breathing. Our prisoners appear to be the source. Admiral Vextar stared at Dr. Yan Wu through the holding cell window. She looked back at him calmly, showing no signs of sickness. You did this, he said. You infected my soldiers deliberately. Dr. Yan Wu nodded. We told you we do not surrender. We told you we do not become prisoners. You did not listen. While Admiral Vextar dealt with the biological weapon, human forces across the galaxy began their own offensive. But they did not try to retake their lost colonies. Instead, they launched attacks against Imperial worlds far from the battle zone. Captain Jin Wook commanded a human fleet of 50 ships. His orders were simple and terrible. He was to find Imperial colonies and destroy them completely. Captain, his navigator Sumin reported, we have reached Imperial Colony Designation 447. Population is 1.8 million civilians. Captain Jin Wook looked at the peaceful world below. Cities sparkled with lights. Ships moved between orbital stations. Families lived normal lives, unaware that death was approaching from space. Are there any military targets? Jin Wook asked. No, sir. This is a civilian agricultural world. They grow food for other Imperial colonies. Jin Wook felt no emotion as he gave his next order. Arm planet killer weapon. Prepare for total sterilization. Engineer Harim activated the weapon systems. Planet killer weapon ready, Captain. All life on the surface will be eliminated in approximately 30 minutes after activation. No evacuation warning? Sumin asked quietly. No, Jin Wook replied. They did not warn our civilians at New Seoul or Busan. Activate the weapon. The planet killer weapon fired a beam of energy that would slowly poison the entire world. Plants would die first, then animals, then any intelligent life. Within a few days, the world would be completely dead. Jin Wook and his fleet moved to their next target while 1.8 million Imperial civilians began dying below them. Across Imperial space, 40 other human fleets were doing the same thing. They ignored military targets and focused on civilian worlds. Within 1 month, 47 Imperial colonies were dead or dying. Admiral Vextar received reports of the destroyed worlds while still fighting the disease that was killing his soldiers. He could not understand human strategy. They are not trying to win territory, he told Commander Yoke. They are not even attacking our military forces. They are simply killing our people in revenge for attacking theirs. Commander Yoke looked at the casualty reports. Sir, we have lost more civilians in this month than we lost soldiers in our last 20 conquests combined. Admiral Vextar finally understood what the intelligence reports had tried to tell him. Humans did not fight wars to gain anything. They fought wars to make their enemies pay the highest possible price for fighting them. Emperor Korthvan stood in his private command chamber aboard the largest ship ever built by the Empire. The ship was called Dominion, and it carried a weapon powerful enough to destroy entire planets in seconds. Around him, his most trusted advisors waited nervously for his decision. Your Majesty, Admiral Zinka said carefully, we have lost 63 colonies to human attacks. Our people are beginning to panic. Some worlds are asking to surrender to the humans before they are destroyed. The Emperor's face was dark with anger. In 1,000 years, the Empire had never faced such losses. Every species they had ever fought would eventually negotiate when the fighting became too costly. But humans seemed willing to kill forever. These humans think they can frighten us with their murder tactics, Emperor Korthvan said. They believe we will retreat like frightened children. But they have made one mistake. They care about their homeworld. The Emperor pointed to a star map showing the human solar system. At the center was a blue planet called Earth where humans had first evolved. Intelligence reports said that 4 billion humans still lived there. We will position Dominion near their homeworld, the Emperor announced. When they see that we can destroy their birthplace, they will finally surrender. No species will choose to see their home planet die. Admiral Zinka looked worried. Your Majesty, our intelligence reports suggest that humans might respond differently. Then other species. Perhaps we should consider other options. Emperor Korthvan slammed his fist on the table. There are no other options. We cannot allow a primitive species to defeat the Empire. Prepare Dominion for travel to Earth immediately. The massive Imperial ship began its journey toward human space. It traveled alone because it was too powerful to need an escort. The planet-killer weapon it carried could turn Earth into burning rock within minutes. On Earth, Admiral Park Tae-young received the intelligence report in her underground command bunker. The report was simple but terrifying. The Empire's most powerful weapon was approaching Earth and would arrive within 48 hours. "Ma'am," Commander Seo-jun said, "should we evacuate the civilian population?" Admiral Park looked around the command center at her staff. Captain Min Jung sat at the communication station. Navigator Jiwoo monitored incoming reports from human fleets across the galaxy. Engineer So-hee managed the defensive systems protecting Earth. "No evacuations," Admiral Park said calmly. "Signal all human fleets immediately. Execute Operation Final Dawn." Commander Seo-jun's face went pale. Operation Final Dawn was the most secret and terrible plan in human military history. "Ma'am, are you certain? Once we begin Final Dawn, there is no way to stop it." "I am certain," Admiral Park replied. "Send the activation codes now." Across the galaxy, human fleet commanders received the Final Dawn signal. Captain Lee Min-seok was positioned above the Empire's capital world with a fleet of 20 ships. Each ship carried planet-killer weapons identical to the one approaching Earth. "Captain," his weapons officer reported, "we have received Final Dawn authorization. All weapons are armed and ready." Captain Lee looked at the Imperial capital world below him. Billions of aliens lived there, including the families of Imperial soldiers. Most of them had no idea that their empire was at war with humans. "Signal the other fleets," Captain Lee ordered. "Confirm that all Imperial worlds are targeted and ready for simultaneous destruction." Within hours, Admiral Park received confirmation from fleet commanders throughout Imperial space. Human ships were positioned above every major Imperial world, each carrying weapons capable of sterilizing entire planets. Emperor Korthvan arrived at Earth as planned. The Dominion positioned itself just outside the range of human defensive weapons. From there, its planet killer could destroy Earth while remaining safe from human attacks. "Send the ultimatum," the Emperor ordered. The message was broadcast to every human communication device on Earth and throughout their space territories. Emperor Korthvan's voice was cold and commanding. "Humans of Earth and all your colonies, this is Emperor Korthvan of the Galactic Empire. You have 48 hours to surrender unconditionally. Remove all your military forces from Imperial space and submit to Imperial rule. If you refuse, we will destroy your homeworld and everyone on it. This is your final opportunity to choose life over death." Admiral Park received the ultimatum in her command bunker. She looked at her staff and saw no fear in their faces. They had all known this moment would come eventually. "Open a channel to the Imperial ship," Admiral Park ordered. When the communication link was established, Admiral Park spoke directly to Emperor Korthvan. Her voice was calm and steady. "Emperor Korthvan, this is Admiral Park Tae-young of Earth Defense Command. We have received your ultimatum. Here is our response." Admiral Park activated a screen showing star maps of Imperial space. Red dots marked the positions of human fleets above Imperial worlds. "As you can see, we have positioned planet-killer weapons above every inhabited world in your empire. If you destroy Earth, we will simultaneously destroy every Imperial world. Your entire species will die within hours of our planet's destruction." Emperor Korthvan stared at the screen in shock. Intelligence had never reported that humans had weapons positioned throughout Imperial space. "You are bluffing," the Emperor said. "You cannot have ships above all our worlds without our knowledge." "Would you like to test that theory?" Admiral Park asked. "We die. You die, Emperor. The choice is yours." Emperor Korthvan stared at the screen showing red dots above every Imperial world. His hands shook as he realized the truth. For months, while his forces had been attacking human colonies, humans had been quietly positioning weapons above his people's homes. "This is impossible," the Emperor whispered. Our sensors would have detected your ships. Admiral Park's voice came through the communication system clearly. We have been preparing for this moment since the day you first attacked us. Every diplomatic meeting, every battle, every retreat was calculated to bring us to this point. You wanted to conquer us. We wanted to ensure that conquest would cost you everything. Emperor Korthvan turned to his advisors. Admiral Zinka, confirm these positions. Are there really human ships above our worlds? Admiral Zinka worked frantically at his console, contacting Imperial colonies across the galaxy. The reports that came back made his face turn white with fear. Your Majesty, Zinka said quietly, I have confirmed human ships above our capital, world, our industrial centers, our agricultural worlds, and our military academies. They have been there for weeks, possibly months, staying just outside our sensor range. On the capital world below Dominion, Imperial Intelligence Director Kell received an urgent communication from a human ship commander. This is Captain Yu Jin, of the Human Defense Force, the message said. You have 30 seconds to order your Emperor to withdraw all forces from human space. If Imperial forces do not begin retreating immediately, I will activate the planet killer weapon currently aimed at your world. Director Kell looked up at the sky, knowing that death waited somewhere above the clouds. He had studied human behavior for months and knew they were not bluffing. Your Majesty, Director Kell's panicked voice came through the Emperor's communication system. The humans are serious. Captain Yu Jin is counting down from 30. She will destroy our capital world if you do not comply. Emperor Korthvan had conquered hundreds of worlds and defeated thousands of enemies. But he had never faced an enemy willing to commit mutual suicide. Every other species had wanted to live, even under Imperial rule, but humans would rather die than be conquered. 20 seconds, Emperor, Admiral Park's voice said calmly from Earth. Your people are counting on you to make the right choice. Emperor, Korthvan thought about his long life and the empire he had built. He thought about the billions of Imperial citizens living normal lives on worlds throughout the galaxy. He thought about children playing in schools, families eating dinner together, workers building new cities. All of them would die if he chose pride over survival. 10 seconds, Captain Yu Jin's voice announced from above the capital world. Emperor, Korthvan closed his eyes and made the hardest decision of his life. All Imperial forces, this is Emperor Korthvan, he broadcast to every Imperial ship and base in the galaxy. Immediately cease all military operations against human targets. Begin full withdrawal from all human space. Declare all human territory a permanent exclusion zone. No Imperial ship will enter human space again without permission. Admiral Zinka stared at his Emperor in shock. Your Majesty, we are surrendering to a primitive species? We are choosing survival over extinction, the Emperor replied. These humans have taught us something new. There are some species that cannot be conquered because they will not allow anyone to win. Across the galaxy, Imperial ships began turning, away from human colonies and heading back toward Imperial space. Admiral Vextar, still fighting the disease that had killed thousands of his soldiers, received the withdrawal order with relief. Finally, he told Commander Yoke, I never want to fight humans again. They do not fight like soldiers. They fight like a disease that kills everything it touches. On Earth, Admiral Park watched Imperial ships leaving human space on her monitoring screens. Engineer So-hee reported from her weapons console that human planet killer weapons throughout the galaxy remained armed and ready. Ma'am, Commander Seo-jun asked, should we power down our weapons now that they are withdrawing? Admiral Park shook her head. No. The weapons stay active until we are certain the Empire will never return. Captain Minjung, send a message to all human fleets. Maintain positions above Imperial worlds indefinitely. Captain Lee Min-seok received the order while still positioned above the Imperial capital. He looked down at the world below, where billions of aliens continued their daily lives, unaware of how close they had come to extinction. Sir, his weapons officer asked, how long do we stay here? Forever, if necessary, Captain Lee replied. Our job is to make sure they never forget what happens if they threaten humanity again. Emperor Korthvan returned to his capital world a changed leader. He called a meeting of all imperial governors and military commanders to explain what had happened. "We have learned that there are species in the galaxy too dangerous to conquer," he told them. "Humans do not fight to win territory or resources. They fight to ensure that anyone who threatens them pays the ultimate price. They are willing to die and take their enemies with them." The Empire survived, but it was forever changed. They had encountered the one species that made victory impossible. Through the promise of mutual annihilation, humans slept peacefully in their space, surrounded by weapons capable of destroying star systems, ready to wake and choose extinction for everyone rather than accept conquest. The galaxy learned to leave humanity alone, not because humans were stronger, but because they were too dangerous to fight. Victory against them was impossible when they were willing to ensure that everyone would lose.